Good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's virtual Checkoff update meeting. I'm Jenna Davis. Nice to see you in person, and thank you for taking some time out of your day to join us and learn a little bit about where we've been in 2021 and where we're going in 2022. I'll give it just a little bit more before we really dive into today's agenda. But definitely appreciate you guys being here with us on this 12th day of January. Time flies when you're having fun. A few housekeeping things for today's meeting. Right now, everyone should be on mute, so please stay on mute. It just helps with the recording because this meeting will be recorded and shared with all who registered. So please keep that in mind. Also, if you do have questions, use the little chat box at the bottom of the screen to submit your questions. If you're comfortable, share your question with everybody, or if you'd like to send us a private message, please send your message to either myself, Jenna Davis, or Shannon Watron. We'll be compiling questions and address those at the end of today's session prior to our breakout rooms. So I'll give it just a little bit more time here today, but I hope that everyone had an enjoyable time over the holidays with their family, survived the cold snap, and didn't have too many snafus with the cold. As a dairy farmer, I understand what can go wrong when it's cold, and I'm definitely appreciating this nice warm weather we're having this week. So I hope that that finds you well as well. And again, if you have any questions, drop them in the chat below, and we will take your questions at the end of the day. So to begin, welcome, and we'll go to the next slide. And really before we kind of look at and review some of our agenda today, I just want to talk about a really important issue that has been on the top of our minds in the last 12 days as we've started 2022. And that really boils down to the elephant in the room, addressing school milk logistics. And first of all, if you are a farmer who has called us or emailed us, I just want to say thank you for reaching out and sharing your concerns with the availability of milk in schools. We know that school milk is a #1 priority. We know how important milk is to provide those 13 essentials to students in schools. And we also realize that this issue is something that could impact you as dairy farmers, as you have kids in school or even grandkids that could potentially be faced with this issue. So #1, thank you for reaching out and making us aware of this issue. And as we've been busy here the last few days of really diving into this, we all know that it's not a supply issue with milk. Milk supply is not the issue, but really it's a multifaceted supply chain complication that really boils down to be a problem with the availability of milk cartons. And we've also identified a few transportation and staffing issues as well. And how we're addressing this, first of all, one characteristic I guess I really appreciate of our dairy farmers is your ability to problem solve. It's that drive to be solution orientated and fix a problem with a positive attitude, no matter what the situation is. And I think in the last, week and a half here, I've really seen that same drive from our staff as we've been working to really address this issue and look for solutions. And well, the school milk issue is really outside of our direct control. In other words, we can't snap and have a magical, fix today. What I've seen is just how well we've been able to leverage the power of partnerships at Midwest Dairy. And I think it's really remarkable when we've had 2 staffers from 2 separate agencies in the state of Minnesota, one from the Department of Education, one from the Department of Ag, who reached out to our staff. And we, again, through that power of partnerships, were able to connect the dots to get the right people at the Department of Ed and the right people at the Department of Ag to talk with one another and have a conversation. And I think, with that, earlier this week, the Department of Education actually sent out a communication to all school districts to really provide a little bit more clarity on how to continue serving dairy in schools that were impacted by milk shortages. And some of those ideas that the Department of Education shared, and again, through that powership of connecting the dots between the Department of Ed and the Department of Ag, school districts were informed to continue to try to source milk from other distributors. They could potentially look to offer a different milk variety, maybe a shelf-stable milk, maybe a 2% milk or whole milk, or even a different flavor, or pour individual servings of milk from a larger container if it was available and if they had enough labor. So the point is, we know this issue is top of mind, and we're really looking to work at solutions. And furthermore, we've been working with the Department of Agriculture and Commissioner Tom Peterson. He's been a great advocate, and we appreciate his support. And he is actually working to connect the processors in Minnesota and convene them to have a special meeting to address this issue as well. And finally, we'll talk about this a little bit later today, but there will be a grant for schools that will be available for schools to purchase milk dispenser equipment. So again, more to come on that particular grant program later on in today's program, but I just wanted to provide you with an update of the current situation. And again, thank you for reaching out. And in terms of next steps, if there is a school in your area that is facing milk supply issues, please, number one, keep us informed. Reach out to us and let us know where the district is, because knowing that information is helpful to us. And also stay tuned to your email. As new communications come out, we'll make sure we inform our dairy farmers, because again, this is a very near and dear issue to all of us. So with that kind of out of the way, we'll move into kind of the real purpose of today's meeting, and that is to provide you with an update of where we've been this past year and where we're going for the rest of this year. And we'll first welcome some remarks from our board leadership. We'll meet the Minnesota team, who is working extremely hard to implement all of our goals to ultimately provide dairy sales and build trust in the dairy community. We'll look at some examples of how we celebrated 2021 and success stories. And we'll hear from Molly Pelzer as she shares what we are going to do in 2022 and how we'll make a difference. And again, I mentioned this at the beginning, but if you do have a question, please make sure you put them in the chat box. And again, you can send that chat to everybody or send it individually to myself, Jenna Davis, or Shannon Watron behind the scenes, and we will make sure we address that at the Q&A time. And finally, at the end of the Q&A period, we will break out into breakout sessions. And this year, it will be a little bit different. Last year, I know we broke out by districts. This year, we're going to be breaking out by topics. So if you have a question and want to have a deeper dive or a deeper discussion with your subject matter expert on staff, make sure you stick around for those. I think it's going to be a great place for dialogue to occur. So without any further ado, I'm going to turn it over now to our MDPC Chair, Charles Kraus, and our Minnesota Division Chair, Barb Liebenstein. Welcome.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Charles Kraus. My family farms just west of Buffalo, Minnesota, and I've been serving on the Minnesota Division Board for well over 10, 12 years now. I'd like to just highlight some of the things that are available to you as dairy farmers and dairy advocates. If you have a question or concern, we have 18 different representatives for the state of Minnesota, 18 districts. And you can contact local people that you have geographically in your area. And if you need to learn something more, if you have a question or if you have an idea regarding dairy checkoff, our ears are open, and it's a two-way conversation, and we'd like to hear your ideas. Another thing that's been decided by the Minnesota Division Board in the past year, over a number of meetings, we decided to add 3 ex officio positions to the Minnesota Division Board. This gives the opportunity for fellow dairy farmers who are not elected, but do seek to learn more and be part of the conversation, the opportunity to apply just as a candidate would for the regular board and be selected by our board for the future. It would be up to 3 one-year terms, and that's something that has now been enacted, and we have one ex officio member that has been approved by the board, Tom Walsh, and there are 2 open seats for the future, and we will address this on an annual basis. So the next time will come in the fall of 2022. So that's just some of the brief highlights, and I hope we can learn a lot today, and I'll turn this over to Barb now.
Thanks, Charles. There is a lot going on in dairy promotion. My name is Barb Liebenstein. I'm a dairy farmer from Dundas, Minnesota, and my husband and I farm together here. I've been serving on Midwest Dairy Minnesota Division for 14 years and have enjoyed being your chair for the last 4. This will be my last year serving in that capacity. So what does sustainability, school milk, exports, and dairy leadership have in common? If you guessed Midwest Dairy, you were absolutely right. We cover all of those areas and more. We have a fantastic staff that is as passionate about the dairy industry as we are. And we're very fortunate to have them being led by our wonderful CEO, Molly Pelzer. It has been a horrible last couple of years with COVID. I'm sure everyone is tired of it. And I'm sure we would all like to go pour glasses of milk for our kids in the elementary schools that aren't getting their milk. But I think and believe that our leadership and our staff are going to help us solve those problems. And hopefully on the other side of it, everything comes out even better than it is now. I look forward to hearing everything that we're going to discuss today. And we are all here to help out if you have any questions about Midwest Dairy and Checkoff. Thanks so much, and I'm going to turn this back over to Jenna to lead us on. Have a great day, everyone.
Hi, everyone. My name is Melissa Young, and I'm the Vice President of Operations for our Business Unit East, which includes the state of Minnesota. And so I have the privilege of leading the implementation through a wonderful team of our strategic plan. And on this slide, you might see some familiar faces. These are some people that really do a lot of the projects in Minnesota. So today you're going to hear from Scott Gilroy, and he leads our demand work in the retail space. Relatively new to Midwest Dairy is Mike Denning. He will be joining Scott in the breakout session, but Mike is leading our food service demand work. So building dairy sales in our food service operations. Lorna Riggs is also joining us today. She leads our Coburn's relationship, which is familiar to quite a few of you, in our demand work. Many of you know Lisa. Lisa has been with Midwest Dairy for some time. She is our wellness manager and works with schools to increase dairy sales and also build trust in dairy through our thought leaders and our youth. Liz Cyrus is relatively new to Midwest Dairy, but she leads our marketing communications work. Brittany Arnold, most of you know her through the work that she does at the State Fair and the ADA, and she will not be joining us today because she is at home on leave with her new baby. Jenna Davis is a farmer relations manager, and you heard from her a little earlier today. Lucas Sjostrom is another farmer relations manager in Minnesota, and I know many of you know Lucas as well as Shannon Watron. And Victoria Newman is behind the scenes as our program assistant, making sure that we have the technology we need today for this meeting. But I would be remiss if I did not mention that there are a lot of other staff that support the work that we do, whether it is our strategy departments, our executive group, our accounting departments, our IT departments. So know that while there are a few faces on the screen, we do have a large support staff that is not being featured that works on your behalf as well. So I'm going to go ahead and transition right into our 2021 checkoff at work. Midwest Dairy works on a strategic plan that is 3 years, but each year we meet and we make little tweaks in this plan. As part of our strategic plan, we have 3 business objectives which is increase dairy sales, grow trust in dairy, and advance research in dairy. We also have 3 foundational priorities, which includes creating dairy checkoff advocates, developing farm and community leaders for dairy, and enhance our Midwest dairy employee culture. So I'm going to start our 2021 checkoff updates with talking a little bit about increasing dairy sales. And as we go through our discussion today, we are really going to we really focus our dairy sales projects in retail, schools, and food service. So why retail? Why schools? Why food service? Well, in retail, 3 out of 4 gallons of fluid milk is sold in the grocery store or in that retail environment. Milk specifically has a 94% household penetration and drives almost 30 annual trips to the store. And when consumers have dairy in their cart, their total basket ring is higher than average. And in 2020, cheese contributed to more than half of the retail the retail dairy growth, particularly due to a lot of the snacking and meal preparation that was happening at home during the pandemic. So why dairy sales in schools? Well, those are 100% of our future consumers. And 8%, or roughly 3.6 billion pounds of total milk volume goes through the school systems nationally annually. We own our place on the school meal tray as part of the meal guidelines. And milk, cheese, and yogurt add variety to the school menu and can help drive that meal participation. But why sales in food service? Food service represents 16% of milk sales. In pre-COVID, 25% of consumers ate out between 2 to 4 times a week. And in 2018, the Gen Z audience made 14.8 billion restaurant visits. And that was 25% of the food service traffic. So that is why we work with retail, schools, and food service to increase dairy sales. But now I'm going to turn it over to Scott to provide some details on some local or on some partnerships that he has.
Great, thanks, Melissa. Good morning, everybody. The first one I want to talk about is Midwest Dairy continues to partner with key retailers in our area, including Cub Foods. For this past holiday season, Midwest Dairy had several activations in each month to help drive consumers to fun recipes using your favorite dairy products. While our November-December numbers have not been reported as of yet, the October event yielded over 100,000 incremental pounds of milk sold. Cub's been a great partner with us in 2021, and I would expect to see even more in 2022. Next slide, please. Hy-Vee is another partner that we had some great activations with in 2021. For the latest holiday season, we had several activations each month during November and December. The one pictured was our November 5th program that highlighted ice cream and half gallons of milk. The event went out on social pages, emails, and texts, and resulted in over 9 million impressions and over 650,000 incremental pounds of milk sold. And again, we'll be working even more with Hy-Vee in 2022. Quarter 4 of 2021 was the second quarter of a new project with Coburn's and Midwest Dairy. Coburn's asked us to partner with them to drive sales and to build trust in dairy, and it kicked off in July of 2021. Using QR codes on in-store signage, shoppers are driven to engage dairy content on a landing page. From there, shoppers meet local dairy farmers with a 1-minute video. They also find new dairy recipes, and Coburn's worked with vendors for promotional coupons on dairy products. To engage more shoppers, marketing tactics were used in e-commerce ads, reward apps, weekly email ads, and social media. This will continue in 2022 with a refresh each quarter. For October and, of course, National Farmers Day, Coburn's ran a Put Some Hometown in Your Cart with Dairy promotion, sharing dairy story of being local and nutritious, and featured a local dairy farm family. Promotions included e-commerce and social media, plus a Little Duke's video at the pump with a promotion on shredded cheese to sprinkle on the protein. For the holidays, dairy took recipes from good to great by adding dairy. The promotion featured dairy's flexibility for side dishes such as cheesy potatoes all the way to yogurt top pumpkin pie. The digital campaign included promotional offers on dairy products from Coburn's. The result of these 3 campaigns was over 1.1 million incremental pounds of milk sold, plus 2.4 million impressions. Coburn's has been a phenomenal partner for us, and we expect to see even more in 2022. As we get into food service, we continued our partnership with Pizza Ranch with 2 activations in 2021. The first was the development of a new line of take and bake breakfast pizzas, and the second was the support of Pizza Ranch's August and September Back to Buffet promotion. These activations resulted in over 2 million pounds of incremental milk sold. For 2022, we will continue our partnership with Pizza Ranch, as well as expanding into additional food service retailers such as multi-unit coffee chains, quick service chains, college and university food service providers, as well as convenience store food service programs. So look for us to be driving dairy sales in even more places in 2022. Now I'd like to turn it over to Lisa McCann, and she'll be talking about our school partnerships.
Great, thanks, Scott. I was able to sell in 3 grab-and-go breakfast programs in fall of 2020. The breakfast carts were really not in use until mid-April 2021, when schools reopened, but numbers were still down as many students were still in that hybrid learning mode. As you can see from some of the pictures, the meals were unitized, which took away some of the student choice. All 3 schools were using the carts this past fall when school reopened, although schools are still challenged with COVID issues, staffing, distance learning, and supply chain issues. So their numbers are not as robust as we had originally hoped when we forecasted. But the schools are still very committed to the programs, and I know they will find solutions. Was also able to sell in a summer feeding program at Osseo School District, and it was really a huge success because it was in the first time the district had actually served meals at a community site and really strengthened partnership with 2 local cities within their district. It really was a very low investment. We provided coolers, cold inserts, and insulated blankets to keep milk and other dairy foods like cheese and yogurt that are also on the menu cold. This equipment really addressed the school nutrition director's main challenge of food safety and meal transportation during the warm summer months, and we did have a hot one this year in Minnesota. This project had really a lot of really cool catalytic effects. This has laid the foundation for expanding meals for the district, which also include milk, cheese, and yogurt, with additional community partners like community centers, churches, and other systems. They are also using the equipment to serve students who are enrolled in their district online program that they started. Plus, they are continuing to serve afternoon meals at 3 of those 23 sites, which also is another, dairy is a component in those meals. So again, a lot of extra catalytic effect. And that, turn it over to, back to Melissa, maybe?
It is. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you, Lisa, for sharing these great partnerships. We are going to transition to our second business objective, which is grow trust in dairy. And when we talk about growing trust in dairy, we really talk about working with thought leaders, consumers, and youth. But why do we work with thought leaders? So when we talk about thought leaders, we define this as academics, policymakers, government, nonprofit, and business leaders who are familiar with environmental, economic, and social sustainability, and thus also includes health and wellness issues in food and beverage. These include partner organizations like the American Academy of Pediatrics or the American Academy of Dietetics. We target thought leaders who can influence a specific audience, such as Gen Z or their parents. These thought leaders provide advice or access to information and resources. They also help drive conversation on topics such as dairy sustainability or the dairy's importance in the diet. They may serve as a third-party advocate. And over time, these thought leaders provide access to their network and third-party validation through their voice and channels. Why do we try to build trust with consumers? When we look at millennials, they are the largest generation, but not necessarily the greatest share of spending. So that provides a great opportunity for dairy. And when millennial households have children, they purchase more dairy. And why are we trying to build trust with youth? As I mentioned during the school sales, they are 100% of our future consumers. They're also 100% of our future employees and leaders. And they're on track to be the best educated generation and the most technology advanced to grace the planet. They have a heightened sensitivity to important issues, and that's where dairy really has an opportunity to reach them with the dairy good story of being good for the overall well-being, but also being good for the planet. This generation will be the one that will bring change. They are passionate about each other and they are in it together. They're passionate about their causes and they expect the brands they purchase to feel the same way that they do and act accordingly. It's important to note that while environment is an important cause amongst this generation, there are others that are equally as important in their views, including causes like equality, gender, hunger, mental illness, and bullying. It's important that dairy organizations and brands understand to win over this Gen Z audience, we can't just put all our efforts into one cause. We have to show them that we align with their overall values. And so with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Lisa, who is going to share some exciting stuff about some of her partnerships in the building trust area.
Thank you, Melissa. This last year, to reach a more diverse audience with dairy nutrition and health messages, I started to partner with Jasmine Stringer. She's an engaging Black social influencer to do 2 virtual YouTube conversations, both with a physician and a dietitian. Research has shown that Black consumers tend to trust family and friends rather than health professionals. Jasmine was a perfect bridge as she has a unique background with past work in a marketing role in several large food companies, is married to a crop farmer in Southwest Minnesota, is on the FFA Foundation board, and is featured as a lifestyle expert on WCCO. We were able to feature Dr. Nubazar, a family physician with Alina, discussing health myths with dairy, focusing on lactose intolerance, inflammation, and hypertension. The goal is really to showcase that 3 servings of dairy can improve overall diet quality, reduce the risk of chronic disease, and support a healthy lifestyle. We ended up doing shorter videos to separate the content, and increase reach. We also featured dietitian Dr. Remy Famadou Jackson, who is also a certified sports dietitian with the Training House and the Minnesota Vikings. And she was discussing plants and dairy better together. The goal of the conversation was really to dispel the debate, on animal versus plant diets, focusing on dairy really as part of the conversation and part of a balanced diet, providing essential nutrients to maintain a healthy, active lifestyle, and really dairy farmer commitment to care for their animals and foster the healthy planet. And we really reached over 17,000 consumers with this promotion. So really was very effective. So I'm going to turn it over to Liz.
Thanks, Lisa. In 2021, Midwest Dairy was able to reach consumers in a new way by sponsoring the first ever live broadcast of the dairy shows at the Minnesota State Fair. During the broadcasts, consumers were given full access to cow judging from the comfort of their homes, while also receiving dairy positive messaging from Midwest Dairy. The live stream received 9,000 views, and we'd like to do it again in 2022. Another first in Minnesota was our work with UMDIA and the Minnesota State Fair to promote Minnesota's best cheese and butter with the first ever public butter and cheese auction. This auction generated more awareness to cheese and butter plants and allowed consumers to enjoy state fair winners. Money raised went to the UMDIA scholarship program. We reached consumers throughout the Twin Cities, several of whom took an Uber to pick up 40-pound blocks of cheese or 20-pound blocks of butter. About 75% of buyers had no connection to the dairy industry. Throughout the state fair, consumers were treated to a new educational space across from the Dairy Goodness Bar. The large-scale mural with a 70-inch TV monitor featured consumer-facing videos on loop throughout the fair. We also had some fun interactive activities for our dairy ambassadors and princesses to use and connect with youth at the fair, such as an Undeniably Dairy Plinko board and trivia wheel. And with the absence of a normal 2020 state fair, ADA of the Midwest was excited to participate in the 2021 Minnesota Get Back Together. This year's event was held from August 26th through September 6th and saw people enjoying some normalcy again. This year's While attendance numbers and weather played a role in sales this year, we still provided consumers with the best ice cream and milk at the fair, including this year's flavor of the fair, You Betcha Berry, a malt sundae topped with strawberries, raspberries, and blueberries. And with that, I'll hand it back over to Lisa.
Thanks, Liz. You're making me hungry. Those were awesome. You Betcha Berries were very nummy. Youth outreach. This past year, we transitioned to multiple virtual options to execute trust, mostly due to COVID and school closures, the same old story here. These virtual options, though, greatly expanded our reach and engagement, and we also found were very effective. Virtual events will continue well beyond COVID as an effective medium to showcase the dairy sustainability and nutrition to build trust with our Gen Z consumers. The Adopt a Cow program continues strong in 21-22 school year with distance learning, reaching 415 elementary classrooms and 11,000 students, slightly down from the year prior, but we attribute to maybe some virtual burnout with some classrooms. We also used our Fuel Up to Play 60 NFL assets creatively to pair them with egg partners to get increased excitement and reach. We executed 2 partner events with Minnesota Egg in the classroom. They really truly have been a great partner, not only host the events, but they really marketed the events both on their website and through their wide teacher email network. Farm and Food Book Week was extremely popular and will be repeated again next month. Vikings player CJ Ham had twice the average classroom participation as other celebrity readers, with 102 classrooms and over 2,300 students. Princess K was also one of the readers during the week. Delvin Tomlinson is our new Fuel Up to Play 60 player ambassador, and we were able to take him on a farm tour last summer and produce a virtual farm tour video. Egg in the Classroom included a dairy farm tour in the Farm to School Month virtual farm tour series, again this fall. This tour was a little bit unique because the classrooms watched the video ahead of time, and then they were able to have a Q&A live with Tyler Audie on his farm. The video still lives on YouTube, and so it continues to generate more views. Another unique event we had was Minnesota History, Farming, and Football in May, which brought together Chad Greenway, Vikings legend, who was at the museum, and Charles Krause, who was surrounded by his baby calves at the farm. Again, Egg in the Classroom sent out details through their listserv, and we had 60 4th to 6th grade classroom with a reach of 1,900 students. A live event that we were originally planning probably would have reached 40. So a great reach. The students were able to experience 3 of the museum exhibits, followed by an engaging conversation discussing family farm history, differences in the stadiums, dairy nutrition, technology changes on the farm and playing fields, and sustainability. Greenway actually grew up on a pork and beef farm in South Dakota, and he passionately shared how farming shaped his life, his work ethic, and his success. Charles showcased his strong commitment for caring for the land and cows to provide a delicious and nutritious product. We received many positive comments from teachers that students were engaged and learned new information. Farm to school resources were shared with all the teachers to continue the sustainability message. And of course, the baby calves were always a big hit. So I'm done and I'll pass it on.
Thank you, Lisa and Liz, for sharing those examples. I'm going to talk a little bit about our third business objective, which is to advance research in dairy. And what we're trying to do in this area is work with our sales partners in retail, food service, and schools, along with processors and co-ops, to share research and insight that helps them make business decisions. So why do we do this? Our goal is to show how our research is really driving business decisions by sales partners and those co-ops and processors. We maximize your investment by sharing marketplace trends, consumer insights, nutrition research, environmental research, and also the Midwest Dairy Foods Research Center. And the storytelling in our promotion and action and our dairy promotion update for farmers inspires processors and co-ops to become Checkoff advocates and our sales partners to work with us. Some examples that we have of work that was done in this area were some consumer insights that were shared with a new processor in our region to bring to market a new product aimed at children. We also collaborated with DMI to share marketplace insights, consumer insights, food science insights, along with guidance on a marketing plan for a new product launch in retail. We also assisted Good Sport, which was introduced at the annual meeting to help, helped by DMI to have science behind milk and hydration. Gen News report that Midwest Dairy helped fund on healthier school communities, shared with a Sioux Falls School District superintendent, helped a new school nutrition director get support to launch a district-wide breakfast expansion. And Pizza Ranch Breakfast Pizza launched in Q4 of 2020, was sped up with marketplace and consumer research on take and bake pizzas. At Midwest Dairy Foods Research Center, we, funded by Midwest Dairy, a research on listeria control has led to collaboration with a leading US ice cream manufacturer to ensure product safety. So we're now going to talk a little bit about our foundational objectives. And our first one is to create dairy checkoff advocates. And we are trying to create advocates with farmers, influential decision makers, and processors. But why dairy checkoff advocates? Why farmers? If we go to the next slide, you will see that you are funding dairy checkoff. We have a responsibility to make sure that dairy farmers understand and support what we're doing to increase sales and trust on your behalf. And we also want advocates. We want you to advocate with checkoff value with your peers and share your stories with consumers to build trust. We are also building advocates with influential decision makers, and these are members of Congress who have the authority for national dairy checkoff statute. Also the heads of state for the Department of Agriculture. And we have a responsibility to ensure they understand who we are and support what we do on behalf of dairy farmers. And also with processors to share the value of dairy checkoff has to farmers and support through research and innovation. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Shannon, who's going to talk a little bit more about how we connect with farmers.
Good morning. So how can you as a farmer stay connected to Midwest Dairy and be heard and know what's going on with Checkoff? Midwest Dairy staff are meeting with farmers one-on-one, one-to-one. Many of you have had a staff member meet you at your dairy farm, but with over 2,000 dairies in Minnesota, it's truly difficult to meet with every one of you. If you're interested to meet with one of our staff members, we would be happy to set up an appointment to meet with you. We have customizable opportunities that we can discuss on farm about how you can promote locally and what we are doing nationally in state and region. Another option is to connect in smaller meetings, one to few, with farmers, including your neighbors and other ADA groups. We've had success with meeting on farm with specific topics and meeting with people who are connected to our farms, such as our veterinarians, our animal health reps, agronomists, and other supporting industries. We are meeting with farmers also at cooperative meetings, trade shows, and presentations like today. And finally, we are connecting one-to-many. Make sure that you're checking your mailboxes to make sure that you're getting your promotion and action newsletters, that you're receiving your annual reports. Check your emails also to make sure that you're receiving your monthly promotion updates. If you are not, please reach out to staff today and we will get you connected and update your contact information. Another option that's available if you're interested in podcasts is our Your Dairy Checkoff podcast, and that is available on all of your streaming services. We will be sharing other opportunities later in today's presentation, including our regional face-to-face meetings here in Minnesota, as well as an opportunity to connect in person at Central Plains Dairy Expo in Sioux Falls. So please take advantage of these opportunities to be heard. Next. Our second way of creating Checkoff advocates is through our influential decision maker meetings, such as a credentialing meeting. These are meetings with congressional leaders, staff, and Department of Ag to inform and educate about dairy checkoff. Our goal is to gain support of dairy checkoff, especially in a time where we have active animal rights activists trying to attack checkoff from a legal and policy-making standpoint. As a reminder, Checkoff is not able to advocate for policy, but we are able to educate. I have personally participated in these credentialing meetings and can attest that elected officials truly appreciate these meetings, as they are more to inform than they are to persuade. Because of our work in Checkoff, we are not allowed to talk about policy, as I mentioned, but we can share what our programs are doing for farmers and what we are doing in our local communities. These meetings are hosted on a farm in a related district, and if possible, board members are invited to attend. This is part of our 3-year plan to connect with 100% of all of our congressional leaders, including our urban leaders here in Minnesota. Here you can see in the pictures a credentialing meeting that we held at Suzanne Fold's farm in Glenwood, Minnesota. We were able to meet with Representative Fishbach, Senator Westrom, and Representative Anderson in her area. Conversation focused on what Checkoff is doing, why is Checkoff important for farmers, and sustainability efforts in agriculture. Thank you.
We are doing a number of things with cooperatives and processors with the goal of them to see direct benefits. So in turn, they become Checkoff advocates for their farmers. This past September, we launched a pilot program called Cooperative and Processor Support Program, or CAPS. The objective of supporting and inducing product and packaging innovation. We set a request for proposals to financially support processor innovation at an efforts of $1 grant to $10 that the proposer would contribute up to $50,000. All of the proposers have been notified, and as a component of this funding, the processor must commit to sharing how dairy farmers through Midwest Dairy supported their innovation efforts. So this year's grantees were Good Sport, was provided funding to be a sponsor of the Chicago Sky, which is Chicago's WNBA team, who ended up winning their national championship this year, to promote the product sampling at fitness centers, gyms, and local retailers. Dairy LLC provided funding to help build out and implement their marketing plan for the regional launch of their new product, which is a whole, lactose-free, no sugar added flavored milk. And Bongards was provided funding to support the addition of new testing. The equipment will reduce product variability, improving cheese consistency and performance. Other ways that we also build advocates with co-ops and processors is sending out a Midwest Dairy Processor e-newsletter with market and consumer insights. We always include a Checkoff at Work story linked back to our website where they can learn more, and we encourage them to share the piece in their farmer communication channels. We have also provided customized consumer insights upon request. Requests include insights regarding probiotics in cheese and ice cream and custom butter insights. We also worked with a creamery on a virtual crisis drill, and this helped not only sharpen the skills of crisis preparedness at Midwest Dairy, but since the drill involved a crisis at one of the members' farms, we were able to see them what value Midwest Dairy could provide if a crisis were to occur. So our next foundational objective that we would like to cover is develop farm and community leaders. And we try to do this through existing farmer leaders, new farmer leaders, and next generation farmer leaders. And why we work with these 3 groups is with existing farmer leaders, we want to continue to develop your skills and keep our existing leaders engaged so they are ready for any opportunity that might arise. And they're well equipped to share their story. With new dairy leaders, it is important to have more dairy farmers telling their story and getting involved. working with new dairy leaders lets us have a variety of people, but also a variety of stories. And we're also building that next generation of dairy leader checkoff leaders. And then with our next generation, this is working with high school and college stage students. And it allows us to build a relationship from an early age. And we hope that these students go on to be future leaders in dairy and be lifelong dairy advocates, no matter where their career path may take them. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jenna to tell you about some exciting partnerships and programs.
Thanks, Melissa. And as Melissa mentioned, this foundational objective is really about equipping our dairy farmers and young advocates with tools that they can use to share their own story. And it really helps complement their own voice and bring their dairy story to life. And personally, I love watching leaders develop and seeing them take the next step and grow. It's something that I really just have a passion for and enjoy. And I've always remembered that leadership isn't just something that's one and done. It's an ongoing process, and it's a lot of fun to be involved in this foundational objective. So when we think about existing leaders and how we're providing them training, one, as Melissa mentioned, is with some of our current leaders. So our existing leaders being board members who serve you as dairy farmers. And the training opportunities that we have for board members includes board orientation, a board mentorship program where newer members are paired with a more seasoned board member to understand some of the history and context of Midwest dairy as a whole, as well as specific training opportunities for those board members. In fact, last April, board members were able to participate in a session where they sharpened their media skills and helped develop key messages when talking to consumers. And speaking of consumers, I want to remind you, all of you as dairy farmers are leaders in some way, shape, or form. And we have what is called an engage training. And this is the perfect opportunity for you to start being more involved and to get comfortable with connecting with consumers and not just educating consumers and talking, but really understanding how to connect on shared values and build that trust, which we ultimately seek. And while we didn't host an engage session in Minnesota in 2021, we are hoping to host an engage session in 2022. So later today, if you want to talk about what an engage training would look like, and if you're interested in what that entails, please make sure you join my breakout room because we'd love to get that on the schedule sooner than later. Next slide, please. And Melissa also mentioned new dairy leaders and examples there. Again, this we're looking to our DEAL program, which is the Dairy Experience and Agricultural Leadership Program. This is the perfect example of how we're able to engage that next generation of farmer dairy leaders. And the first DEAL class just wrapped up their 18-month program and kind of strung out to about 2 years with the pandemic. But the first class just finished, and the class contains 15 participants from across Midwest Dairy's region. And 5 of those participants were from Minnesota and included Pat Bakerberg, Andrew Miron, Tyler Oddie, Megan Schrupp, and Rita Vanderkoy. So if you know any of those young farmers, reach out and ask what they thought of that experience. And they really had the opportunity to learn more about Midwest dairy and how to be involved. And again, were provided some new skills that they can take home and continue to implement and grow. And our next class is just about to begin their adventure in dairy experience and agricultural leadership. And Minnesotans participating in the program include Natalie Barca, who is also a former ambassador, which I'll talk about next, Kevin Borst, Jennifer Klajeski, Paige Roberts, and Ellie Tiber. So we're really excited for this new program. And if you are interested, again, I'm going to plug my breakout session later on. So please join us there. And finally, we will talk on the next slide about next generation leaders. So what opportunities does Midwest Dairy have for high school and college advocates? First of all, we have dairy internships. And in Minnesota, we were fortunate to have 3 internships based here in Minnesota. Two, the Ag Affairs and Corporate Communications serve all of Midwest Dairy territory. So we thank Ellen Harth and Val Sauter. And we also have a Minnesota Farmer Relations intern who was Michaela Pepper, who you probably saw at the State Fair or perhaps interacted with in the Maltwagon program. If you do know any young college age advocates looking for a career or an internship opportunity, we do have the Minnesota Farmer Relations internship posting available now. So pass it along. It's on our website at midwestdairy.com, and those applications are due next Monday. And speaking of ambassadors, earlier I told you that Natalie Barca, who's now a deal participant, is a former ambassador. And this is a great opportunity for college-aged advocates to learn more and gain more leadership opportunities and experience, and also participate in consumer events and really have that conversation with consumers about why dairy is so good for them as an individual and good for the planet as well. And last year's ambassadors included Emily Pop, Allison Smelter, Madison Kruger, Rachel Nelson, and Ashley Hagenos. So we definitely appreciate their efforts. And finally, I would be remiss if I did not mention the Princess K of the Milky Way program. This past year, at the May event, we had nearly 50 young women participate in the judging process, which was really exciting. Also last year, we implemented virtual leadership sessions that anybody can use. So counties are able to use that at their own local program to help train up that next generation of young advocates. And speaking of Princess K, last year's Princess K, Brenna Connolly, had a wonderful event despite serving as Princess K during a pandemic. She was able to attend 57 different events, visited 26 counties. And like Lisa mentioned, she was able to participate in some of the activations with the Minnesota Vikings through that partnership, and enjoyed visiting 60 classrooms at one time. So there was a silver lining despite COVID. And one of her favorite experiences as Princess K was being able to participate in Minnesota Egg in the Classroom's Farm and Food Book Week. And as you are all probably aware, the current Princess K, 68th Princess K of the Milky Way, Anna Early, was crowned in August, and she is having a fantastic year. She's been invited to several different school events where she's been able to interact with students, as well as some consumer-facing events as well, and actually a little bit more than normal. So it's fun to see her being engaged and sharing her love of dairy with the public. And with that, I will have the privilege now to turn over the mic to our CEO, Molly Pelzer. Molly, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Jenna. I'm going to wrap up the staff presentation by focusing on 3 topics. First, how we're tracking our programming to make sure that we're making a difference for you as part of the strategic plan that you just heard the overview on. I also have the privilege to highlight some work for 2022, what we're excited about. You've heard a little bit of that as we've gone through the presentations. And then finally, update you on the international food service work that's being supported by your Dairy Checkoff. We heard from you that you were interested in this topic and want to deliver on that. The next slide showcases what we call our scorecard. So when we think about making a difference, how do we track that for you? As we began this journey on our new strategic plan, the corporate board asked us to include measurement targets or impact measures as we develop the new plan. Each of the objectives you heard staff cover earlier has a target measure for the 6 objectives in the strategic plan. This is the first time we've done that, and I think the first time it's been done in the Checkoff world. It's a little scary, but at the same time, it's motivating for staff to know what the result measure is. The scorecard approach acknowledges you as farm business leaders and that you're results oriented, and your Checkoff should deliver the same for you. We can certainly modify our targets as we learn, increasing them or decreasing them if they weren't spot on. What you see on the screen is our results at mid-year for the 3 business objectives in the plan. We wanted to take that out to our board members starting in July and then in fall business meetings of the divisions to get their feedback on if the format was right. So you'll see on the slide measures for how we increase dairy sales, how we advance dairy research, and how we grow trust for dairy. These last few days, the staff have been gathering our final 2021 data, and we are ready to bring that forward to you in a final scorecard this spring. Look for it in your Promotion in Action e-newsletter, and certainly in your mailboxes in the dairy promotion update, which we'll deliver to you in the first quarter of the year. As we transition to spotlighting what's ahead for 2022, on the next two slides, I want to start off with a big thank you to the Minnesota Dairy Promotion Council, or MDPC, for providing additional funding from cash reserves to help us test and learn or pilot some new concepts. This work will help us learn about how to be most effective before we roll out similar programs in the rest of our 9 states. So this is definitely Minnesota-specific work. The work is aligned with our strategic plan, and again, will help us pilot new ideas and new approaches to increasing trust in sales for dairy. The 2 projects that the MDPC board approved in October include sales in schools and also a trust building exercise in college campuses. On the first topic, sales in schools, we are looking to provide grants to schools in 3 specific areas. And as we kicked off the meeting today with concerns about the ability to provide milk to students at school in paperboard cartons, we are very eager to advance the school milk dispenser concept. Before the pandemic started, we had small adoption and we're testing with great results. The goal is to accelerate the adoption of this method for delivering milk to students in schools. We know that students love getting cold milk from these milk dispensers, and that school nutrition professionals appreciate the less paper waste associated with this method of delivering milk to students at school. We will also include in these grants smoothies, which are wildly popular with students and school nutrition professionals, as an opportunity to showcase dairy on the menu. And in addition to that, the 3rd grant opportunity will be for milk-based coffee beverages in high schools, a great way to have adult flavored milk for these high school students. That 2nd project is work on college campuses in Minnesota. We want to create a buzz on the campus about dairy. The work will align with a new theme at National Dairy Council and DMI on Reset Yourself with Dairy. The goal is to have signage, social media campaigns, and opportunities to choose dairy on campus eating facilities menus. We want to explore having an event that will help students deal with the stress of midterms and exams, featuring the comfort of milk and cookies and creamy parfaits with yogurt and energized with a latte. We are also exploring the use of an NCAA student athlete as an influencer with their college-age peers to promote dairy and to be an advocate. We certainly appreciate the MDPC's ability to test and learn in Minnesota and roll out these new insights gained across our 10-state region. In addition, what's exciting in 2022, the staff are really looking forward to the 3 projects you see under the blue banner. You heard Lisa talk a little bit about the Science Museum of Minnesota work. We want to reach families there with messages about dairy farming and dairy foods, particularly focused on the STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, a big curriculum push for teachers, and how dairy fulfills those interest areas. We have an opportunity to bring food experiences to the Science Museum. Tongues on Teaching is always one of my favorite ways to teach about how we enjoy dairy, and certainly to talk about the unique nutrition and health benefits of dairy as well. Additional quarterly features on dairy are being planned. This next activity is really exciting and something new. We worked with Come and Go and a partnership to serve that Gen Z population. You might have seen or read information about Gen Z. Those are the 10 to 24-year-olds. They use convenience stores as their grocery stores. So we're partnering with Come and Go convenience stores using that same Reset Yourself with Dairy in a spring, summer, and fall promotion. The plans include apps, store signage, sales promotions featuring dairy. We're really excited to see where this project with Come and Go goes. The 3rd spotlight project staff wanted to bring forward was work with the Department of Education in Minnesota and family and consumer science teachers, or FACS. You might know them as home ec teachers of the past. We want to bring ag literacy, or that farm to table journey, to light with older students in middle school and high school, with a focus on cheese, how cheese is made, how to pair it with other foods, and how to make an Instagram ready cheese board that they can share the photo with their friends on social media. Those are all 3 projects that your Minnesota staff has applied their enterprising and creative nature. We're excited to see those come to play. The red area on the slide talks about work that we're going to be doing as a focus in our 10-state region in all of 2022. And that's simply sharing dairy's story about how dairy is good for you and made with care for the planet. Melissa mentioned that earlier as well. Consumers are telling us that they want to know more about the impact of their food choices on the planet, and dairy has a great story to tell. The cow is an amazing upcycler. She can eat things that we cannot as humans, and that might end up in a landfill. But instead, a cow can make that into delicious and nutritious dairy foods. So we want to be able to share that message. But on top of all of that, we need to remember to bring home dairy's unique nutrition story and the health benefits that come from dairy. So we call that sustainable nutrition, and it'll be part of our work going forward in 2022 across Midwest Dairy. The next slide is a little bit of a transition, so come with me. We are wanting to remind all of you that your Checkoff investment does impact nationwide programming as well. We are a partner at DMI with our United Dairy Industry Association, or UDAA partnership, and that gives us an opportunity to work with DMI to have a local impact on nationwide programming. That includes USDEC, or the United States Dairy Export Council, in promoting exports in an area that we know that you are very, very much an advocate of. We understand that much of the population in the world lives outside the US, and we want to bring delicious and nutritious dairy from the USA to them as well. Related to this work is the international food service work that you see here on this slide. In 2017, DMI expanded their successful US food service partnerships to international markets. And the goal of this is twofold: to drive sales of US cheese across the globe, and also create an awareness for consumers for US dairy. The information that you see on the slide shows that we're focusing on Pizza Hut in the Asian Pacific, Domino's Japan, and Domino's Middle East, including Saudi Arabia and UAE, or the United Arab Emirates. A little bit more on this work. In 2021, the focus of the work in the Pizza Hut Asian Pacific area was driving value promotions in support of takeout and delivery. This pandemic is global, and we were all looking for opportunities to eat out, but taking it home. To date, the US cheese growth in Asia Pacific with this Pizza Hut partnership has more than doubled sales since the onset of the partnership. We also partnered with Domino's in Japan. They provided 2 new menu items featuring US cheese, the Jumbo Pizza, and uniquely, the Pizza Rice Bowl. The Pizza Rice Bowl innovation combines a familiar Japanese dish with the toppings of pizza, including US cheese. Since the beginning of the Domino's Japan partnership in 2019, US cheese volume at the chain has doubled. And the last example, we're still waiting to see the results from, but this example on the slide from Domino's Middle East, which is our newest partner, introduces a half-kilo cheese pizza with more than a pound of US cheese per pizza. We're excited to see this promotion take off in the marketplace and look forward to bringing you results. In closing, as I wrap up my portion of today's update, I want to thank all of you for joining our call today, for your interest in the work of Dairy Checkoff. I can echo Barb's comments at the beginning as our division board chair in Minnesota, that Midwest Dairy staff are passionate and dedicated to make a difference for you and for dairy farm families across our region. We know who we work for, and staff is proud to work for you to bring their subject matter expertise, whether that's in sales and nutrition, in marketing and communications and IT or accounting and so on, to do dairy promotion and research work that benefits the dairy checkoff. We look forward to a discussion as we wrap up our time together. Jenna's going to host a Q&A, and then we have those small group sessions that are organized by topic where you can get to know your staff and also explore their subject matter expertise and the responsibilities they bring in their program work. So with that, I'm going to send it back to Jenna.
Thank you so much, Molly. And I think I'm going to echo what Lisa was saying earlier about getting hungry because, wow, looking at all that cheese on pizza, I'm a little hungry now. So that's the downside of hosting a meeting during the lunch hour. But at this time, please feel free to type your question in the chat box, and you can send that to either Shannon Watron or myself or the whole group. And I don't know if you were monitoring the chat box as an attendee, but Charles made a really good point earlier on today that if you are interested in hosting a small meeting, reach out to your Minnesota Division Board leader in your area and perhaps look at hosting a meeting. And if it works, hopefully, you can connect with a farmer relations member as well, because we want to make sure we continue the conversation with you as farmers. I'm going to skip ahead while we're waiting for questions. Vic, if you'd go to the next slide, please. Shannon earlier mentioned that we have some opportunities for you as farmers to meet your staff at regional meetings across the state. And soon you will be receiving a postcard in the mail for these in-person meetings. And you can see on the map, we will be coming to hopefully a location near you throughout the state in the month of February. We'll be up at the Cactus in Perham on February 9th, Crow River Winery in Hutchinson on February 10th, at the Zumbrota VFW on the 16th, the Falls Ballroom on February 17th, the Greenwald Pub on the 23rd, and we'll wrap up the year for a good time. I hope you catch my pun there at Good Times in Caledonia on the 24th. And again, we hope that you'll be able to make it. Our meetings will each vary by location. So if you can make it to multiple meetings, you're more than welcome to attend. We'll have speakers beginning at 10 a.m. and be wrapped up by 2 p.m. And I know in certain cases, certain county ADA groups have reached out to us to host their own county meetings after the regional meeting has concluded. So stay tuned, check the Dairy Star for the ad, as well as watch your mailbox here in the next coming weeks, but we hope that you would be able to attend. And I'll have one more call out for questions. Shannon, I'm not seeing anything in my chat box. What are you seeing?
There's nothing over here yet.
All right. And as Shannon mentioned earlier, if you want to type your questions, feel free. Otherwise, we hope that you will continue the conversation really in the breakout sessions. And if we go to the next slide, Vic, how the breakout sessions are going to work. You have the flexibility as an attendee to attend any breakout session that you would like. And as Molly mentioned, you have that opportunity to start that conversation with one of our subject matter experts in these 4 different areas, being demand, trust, farmer advocates, and developing leaders. So in a few minutes, we'll actually launch the breakout rooms. And if you are joining from a computer, all you need to do is select which room you would like to enter, and you'll be transported to that room magically. So here's teleportation, I guess you could say. It finally is here in 2022. And if you are not joining from the computer, but from a phone, please stay in the main room, and Victoria Newman will be able to place you in whichever breakout room you would like. So, all right, I see a question, and Shirley asks, when do the school milk grants start and when are they awarded? That's a great question. And Lisa, I'll answer a little bit, but if you want to jump on as well, I believe the grant program is not open yet, Shirley. So it is something that we are currently working on. Stay tuned. And Lisa, do you have any more to add there?
Yeah, there's a lot of bells.
Oh, you're on mute, Lisa. Oh, Time out, mute.
Sorry about that. I thought I clicked it. We are working diligently right now to get all the pieces together. So my goal, if everything goes correctly without any hiccups, I'm hoping that by late January, maybe first week in February, we can get the grants communicated and out to the schools, and we'll do a rolling monthly application. So every 15th of every month, the grants will close, and that would give us time to review and until basically they run out. So that is, and we really want to also start the process now with the goal that this will be implemented in the fall, because we know there are a lot of equipment delays right now. So working diligently with Hubert Manufacturing. So they have kind of guided, but I know a lot of the equipment for the bulk milk dispensers are 6 to 8 weeks out. So it's not going to happen right away. So by doing it early in the year, we can, maybe get them implemented by spring semester or late spring, but more than likely by fall. But that's just the way the world works right now. So so that's as much as I know. We'll keep you informed. So thanks.
Thanks, Lisa. I appreciate that. And hopefully, surely that provided you some clarity as well. We'll give it a little bit more before we break out into the breakout groups. So if you do have your question, now is the time to add it to the chat box. And one thing I will add as well, with the breakout rooms will be open for 30 minutes. And after 30 minutes, we will close. There's not an official ending. So if you go back to the main room at the end of your 30 minutes, literally you can just leave. The meeting will kind of end at that time. And Shannon sends the reminder that you can switch between rooms if you want to meet more than one staff member. So I think I'm not seeing any more chats here. So I think at this time, we will start our breakout rooms. And again, if you have questions, Victoria Newman will be in the main session, and she's a whiz, and we could not do this without her. So we appreciate her time. And I also appreciate your time as farmers to attend. But in a few seconds, we'll launch those breakout rooms, and you can choose which breakout room and which staff member you would like to participate with. So don't be afraid to ask questions, come off mute, and share, and let's see where this goes. So again, thank you for your time, and those breakout rooms will launch momentarily. And you can see at the bottom of your screen, there should be a new button. You can just click join a breakout room and select where you would like to be. And it might take a little bit of time for you to join the breakout room. That's completely fine. But at this time, head on out. And again, thank you for your time.